No scientist or researcher in this field is saying that the goal is to be happy and positive all the time. So according to the science of happiness, a happy life consists of three things. To be a human being alive, you are going to feel painful emotions. And there's 90 plus positive ones and there's 100 plus painful ones. If you have a goal of just being positive all the time and feeling positive and feeling happy all the time, it's actually going to make you less happy because you're not accepting your emotions. And emotional acceptance is a part of well-being.
Welcome to Hyperfocus and High Performance with Christine Howe, where we explore how you can work with your brain, build your dreams, and live on purpose with more clarity, creativity, and presence. I am so happy today to welcome Tia Graham to the Think Time podcast. And Tia, I am so excited to introduce you because at the end of all of our dreams and goals, what else do we want than to feel that feeling of happiness? So I'd love to start by helping our listeners get to know you. For those who may be meeting you for the first time, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do today?
Sure. So I am a mama of two girls and now actually a mom of two dogs. We just got a new puppy and married to my husband, Jim. We've been together, I want to say 18 or 19 years. I'm originally from Canada, but I've lived in the United States and Europe for the past 25 years or so. Before what I'm doing now, I worked in the hotel and resort industry. So I was a director of sales and marketing for 15 years in several different hotels and resorts and loved working in the travel industry. When I went back to work after having my first baby and really my second baby, I was very unhappy. Trying to do well and be successful at all these different hats that I was wearing with work and parenting and self-care and friendships and marriage and everything else. And prior to having kids, I most of the time was a very positive, optimistic person. And people would even ask me, how do you stay so happy? And I, had this dream, because you said dreams and goals. I had this dream way before I became a mom or even got married of like, maybe I can have a happiness company one day and help other people be happier. Fast forward, I am miserable. I am full of guilt, resentment, anger, stress, anxiety, sadness, overwhelm, you name it. And I ended up hiring a coach because I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm not like, oh, I want to be a stay-at-home mom. No, because I'm a career person. I'm very ambitious, but my life is completely different. Mm-hmm. And so I was telling her all about how stuck I felt and how unhappy I was. And then I told her about this little dream that I'd had for a long time. And I said, ironic, because I'm literally miserable, but at one point I wanted to have a happiness company. And this beautiful, wonderful coach helped me create that dream. So I built it while I was at the hotel, and my company's called Arrive at Happy. And for the past 9 years, I have been researching and getting certified in coaching myself, the science of happiness, which is also known as positive psychology, the neuroscience of happiness, happiness at work. And I became a keynote speaker and a leadership trainer, and organizations would hire me to help their leaders and teams increase their happiness so that their organization would grow. And in the last, 5 years of my life, it's been another big transformation. Our older daughter was diagnosed with a rare profile of autism and has had a very challenging journey. And in addition to everything I know about the science of happiness, I've also gone on a very transformational healing journey, both for my daughter as well as for myself, to be calmer, more regulated, more accepting of things that I can't change. And a year and a half ago, I launched a community for working moms called the Feel Good Club. And so, yeah, and I still speak as well, but that's the journey.
I love it. I love it. And I love that it came from your personal questions. Like, I'm not who I want to be. I'm not who I see myself as. There's a mismatch between my values, my self-identity, and my daily life. this
Yeah.
is not working. And then, so when your coach guided you next, did she just encourage you to start looking around? Did she direct you? How did that transition go from I'm miserable, but I'd like
Mhm.
to launch a happy business? Like tell me more about that transition. Like, did you just start looking into things? Did she say check out positive psychology?
She said, create a deck, like open up a blank. This is before all the fancy AI tools, right? Open up a blank PowerPoint deck and start researching happiness. Like what, And so then I went to Google. Again, this is all before chat, everything. This is in like 2016. I went to Google and I put what makes people happy. And Google said the science of happiness. And I was like, what the is the science of happiness? Positive psychology. And I went down and, I'm beyond, I'll be obsessed with it for the rest of my life. I was like, wait, what? You can take classes at Harvard and Yale and Berkeley and there's a well-being center at Oxford University. What?
Oh, wow.
There's a World Happiness Summit. Okay. I bought a ticket. I need to go the next year. I'm like, how do I speak there? So it was like the what, and then I talked to her every other week for 6 months, and I've heard her off and on over the past 10 years for different phases and pivots and things. And she was like, awesome. Yeah. I found TED Talks. I found Sharon Aker, all these different people. She was like, great. What's your monetization strategy? What are you going to sell? What are you going to market?
Yeah.
And so then it was like, okay, I'm a director of sales. And it wasn't just like, we're living in Los Angeles. My husband and I are both dual income. Like I didn't quit my job and just go on this research journey. I am working, taking classes, doing this because it wasn't like, my salary. We needed, healthcare, all the things. So, then I was like, okay, how can I start making money on the side? The first thing I did was I started one-on-one coaching.
Okay.
I could do that while being a director of sales and marketing, right? I could do a coaching call on a Saturday morning, whatever. And then I started moving into corporate work and started doing things here and there. And then, moved into keynote speaking. And so that also was an evolution too.
That's neat.
So yeah, she just sort of helped me. She gave like little crumbs on like the quest, but she didn't tell me what to do, right?
I'd love to introduce you to something I created specifically for brains like yours. Think Time Membership is a guided neuroplanning membership designed to help you align with your design, work with your brain, and build your dreams with more clarity, confidence, creativity, and presence. Instead of forcing yourself into systems that don't fit you, you'll learn how to plan in the native, creative language of your brain using my neuroplanning framework. Love your design. Then dream, decide, do, review. Inside the membership, you'll join a community of growth-oriented leaders for weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annual guided planning experiences, so you'll never have to figure it out all alone. Your membership also includes access to the Think Time Neuroplanner, a whole brain visual planning system designed to help you harness the strengths of your mind instead of constantly fighting against it. And when you join, you'll receive access to the neuroplanning course and tutorials, planning tools and templates, live group coaching, monthly Q&A, and a live onboarding session so you can begin to use the system right away. If you're ready to increase your opportunity to experience more clarity, calm, confidence, creativity, meaningful productivity, and presence while getting more of the right things done in less time with peace, not pressure, visit think-time.com/podcast. I'd love to help you build a life that works with your brain, aligns with your design, and reflects what matters most. So you had a dream, you had a vision, you kept it alive, and it sounds like it was, at Think Time we'll talk about it like a seedling, like something you're not going to like tell anybody, like I want to start a happiness company, like that's just not something you start introducing yourself with, but you kept it alive. It was on the back burner. It was always there and it never left. And at this time of deep sadness, it grew almost like it feels like a seed.
Yeah.
Pushed down under the ground. Yeah. It got watered with life circumstances and then it started to grow.
Yeah. And a lot of people ask me like, how could you live this big corporate job with huge annual bonus, with all these perks, like big leadership role. And I say, like, I didn't have a choice. Like, my heart was breaking for how much time I was missing of my girls' lives. I couldn't stay. Like, it wasn't, I was just figuring out how am I going to do it?
Mm.
And so that was a blessing because I was in such emotional pain that, the fire and the like energy to like stay up late studying after I put my
Yeah.
kids to bed, after I did a big job all day, because it was like, I'm going to be with my girls more. Like, I'm going to pick up my girls from school several times a week. Like, I have to,
You had a vision. It wasn't something you could achieve right then, but you had a vision of, I want to pick up my girls from school. I want to be more present.
yeah,
You felt like my identity is I'm a working mom, and yet I want to be with my kids more. And
yeah.
so you kind of held, and this is such an important thing, I think, with dreams, letting those two sit together in conflict.
Mm-hmm.
I am a successful
Director of sales and marketing.
director of sales and marketing. We're not talking about a small job. Like, this is a big one, and everyone's looking to you, and you are the stuff. And yet at home, you're irreplaceable. There's no one else that can be mom to these girls. And you were feeling that pull.
Mm-hmm.
And then the thing I love in the neuroscience about dreams and goals and achieving them is holding those in conflict. Like, you just you feed your brain those problems, and then it starts to work. And so your brain worked it out over time, not only achieving this dream that you had, but also addressing this conflict. And look what happened. This is cool. This is awesome. I love your story.
Thank you.
That's so fun. So you've shared so beautifully in your TED Talk and in other places about growing up in a quiet log cabin in northern British Columbia. And then you experienced a profound shift when your parents separated.
Mm-hmm.
So our family has recently walked through a similar season, and the question of how I respond emotionally has been very present for me.
Mm-hmm.
So as an adult, have you talked with your dad about what was happening internally for him during that time? And maybe you could help our community understand a little bit of the story behind it, and then what
Sure.
happened on that pancake morning.
Sure.
Walk them through that.
So yes, I talk to both of my parents all the time, and I'm constantly asking the questions. They're both in their mid-70s. And of course, becoming a mom myself has made me have a whole new perspective for them parenting me and my sisters.
Mhm.
So I grew up in a little log cabin in northern Canada. My parents ran a small little ski area, and there was, around, let's say, 8 or 9, you can feel things changing in the home, and you can feel shifts, right? Because children are so smart and
Mhm.
sense things. And when I was around age 10, this is the story, my parents sat me down and my sisters down and shared that they would be separating, that we would be moving, and that our family, would be in two households. And of
Mhm.
course, I was devastated, shocked, like, what, you're a kid. It was hard on everyone. My dad did not want the family to break apart, even though I fully believe my mom made the right decision and they're both better off. It was absolutely the right decision for everyone. And my dad thinks that too now, I will say. But at the time he didn't.
Sure.
And he became very unhappy, very disengaged, withdrawn, and just like down, right? And it was kind of more and more. And he was always a pretty positive, upbeat guy, both my
Yeah.
parents. And so it was really, really hard witnessing, like, okay, we're going through divorce, and now my dad's like not happy anymore, and trying to single parent, etc. And that went on for a couple of years. And on his birthday, I came downstairs and there was upbeat, like reggae music playing, and he was making pancakes. And I said, like, he was sort of like, "Good morning, Tia," like very cheery and bubbly. And I was like, "Whoa, you're like happy. Like, are you happy because it's your birthday?" And he said, "I've had, you know, two the worst years of my entire life. And I woke
Mhm.
up this morning and I thought I'm not going to have another bad year."
Mhm.
So he told me that. as a young adolescent. And then I witnessed him make changes. He started exercising more. He went back to school and changed careers, spent time with friends, was like playing upbeat music all the time. Like he was consciously, intentionally doing things to make himself feel happier. Right. And so I learned, oh, happiness is a choice and it's something that you do. And so that was made a huge impression on me. And that is how I have I just turned 46, and there's been many times where I've been living in a city, or I've been in a relationship, or I've been with a boss, and where I'm like, okay, I'm not happy. What do I have agency. And then learning all about the science behind it, has been transformational. And so for a parent listening, whether you are together in a relationship or not, right? Or there's different people, no matter what it looks like, the parent's emotional, mental, psychological well-being is the most important factor on the children's well-being. Not if you're married or divorced, right? Like you can have married people and they're fighting like crazy and they're miserable. Like this isn't like, oh, if you're married, the kids are happier. No. And so that's why I always say to whether it's a leader, whether it's a working mom, prioritize your well-being, prioritize your happiness, because whether, you affect the children or you affect people on your team, it's the exact same thing. Emotions are contagious. We have mirror neurons. And so it's never selfish to do that.
That's been forefront in my life this year. And having that clarity for me, even though I've walked through a difficult season, I have put on my oxygen mask first.
Yeah.
Knowing that only then can I give to the kids. And more importantly, giving to the kids is them becoming more like who I am. But if I am who I am, that's the most powerful influence on their development and well-being. So I've been sitting with that science this year myself and applying it with some sacrifices. Like it's not always easy to prioritize my well-being, like go to the gym, go to therapy, get a coach, like all these pieces, learn to journal to go deeper into my emotions so I can mirror to them so I can get your feelings. All of those steps. I'm watching that science play out in my home right now. So as you're speaking, I'm just like, yes, yes, and yes. But that is something I had to lean into this year specifically. And I have in many ways, but really double down this year on I'm investing in me and I know they're looking at me. And so.
And you want them to do it when they're not in our house, right?
Yeah. You don't go through life and say, I don't have a problem. I'm fine. And then have destruction in your wake, You want to say, I'm humble. I can learn. I can be guided. I might have had some things I needed some help in. And I know that when you need help, you'll reach out too. And so I think humility, oh man, when you start getting into the way we frame things, the way we see things, we see what we want to see. We see who we are, and that's, if there's anything to humble you fast, it's to see that, it's like, oh, I see the world as I am. And so, whoa.
Yeah. I recently I'm reading a book on the neuroscience of manifestation by Dr. Jim Doty. And there's crazy stats where it's like, 0.0001% of what we think and what we experience in reality is our consciousness. Like basically all of it is like, there's so much of our subconscious that we're not even aware of, and how we show up and act and everything. And yes, you can access that. So I think it's fascinating, but it's right. The way exactly you said of like we're experiencing life. We think it's life, but no, it's our life, right? And all 8 billion of us have our own little views and experiences, and just that awareness is so powerful.
Yeah, it's real fun. We talk a lot about that. I'm going to have to pick up that book now. Jim Doty.
Yes.
The Neuroscience of Manifestation.
Yes. It's called Mind Magic. And I think the subtitle is The Neuroscience of Manifestation.
That's really cool. So that is the science behind our think time process. So we call it drawing your dreams, but it's making a visual of your visualization as the anchor point for the planning systems. I didn't know what manifestation was, but I started using creativity and imagination, and then I drew my dream, and then I was like, whoa, 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 what just happened? I just achieved that. So then I landed in that manifestation world as well.
Visualization is one of the steps of manifestation. There's several steps, but that's one of them.
It's a very important one.
Yeah.
It's a very important one.
You can't manifest without visualizing it.
And the feeling of it and all of that. And so I'm a little bit more like the neuroscience big caps of manifestation. Yeah. But it's your brain.
No, I think you're going to like the book because it's all the neuroscience of it. Yeah.
I'm going to love it because it's true. The thing is, it's true. And where we come from in Texas, I'm in Tennessee now, but I was in Texas for a very long time. And they say you're going to find what you're looking for. So
I love it.
It's very similar concept. So the truth is the truth all over the world, and you can call it neuroscience and manifestation, and you're going to find what you're looking for in Texas. Yeah. So one thing I really appreciated about your work is how clearly that you name that happiness doesn't mean everything is positive. I've interacted with people in the gratitude and happiness fields where they just like drop out the negative and act like it doesn't exist. And as a counselor, I'm always listening for the line between resilience and denial. And so this nuance that you have in your research, it stood out to me. And so what I'd love to hear from you, and what I think that our community would really appreciate, is to know that when circumstances are actually really hard, and I put with a forecast that it doesn't look, what is it like, cloudy with the chance of meatballs, or like that. You know, the forecast isn't improving anytime soon. It's like genuinely you're walking through hard things.
Yeah.
How do you help people find honest paths toward more happiness without bypassing reality, but actually finding, where do I have that agency? How do you help people navigate that place?
Yes. Great question. So I've been researching the science of happiness for almost a decade, and no one in this field, no scientist or researcher in this field is saying that the goal is to be happy and positive all the time. So according to the science of happiness, a happy life consists of three things. One is there's more positive than pain, right? But to be a human being alive, you are going to feel painful emotions. And there's 90 plus positive ones, and there's 100 plus painful ones. And, you know, if you are a sociopath, you might not feel the painful ones, but for everyone else, we feel them. And if you have a goal of just being positive all the time and feeling positive and feeling happy all the time, it's actually going to make you less happy because you're not accepting your emotions. And emotional acceptance is a part of well-being, right? It's a part of having a healthy mindset, right? And mental health. So number one, more positive than pain. And there's thousands of research papers on how to increase the positive emotions and how to cope and how to process the pain you're going through. Right? So the second part of a happy life is meaning and purpose. And a lot of things in our life that are meaningful and purposeful don't make us happy all the time, right? Like parenting, perfect example. My kids drive me flipping bonkers sometimes, and not like so meaningful, so purposeful, doesn't make me happy all the time, right? Work, community, all the different things you'd want to do that makes your life meaningful and purposeful. There's thousands of research papers in that pillar. And then the third pillar, which is the newest area of positive psychology, is experiences that make you psychologically rich so that you grow in wisdom. Again, not positivity. So well-being, right? The science of happiness or positive psychology well-being is a lot richer, and it's focusing on the painful sides of life, right? Of like I go to the World Happiness Summit every single year. Half or more of the talks are not about like it's not about joy, right? It is
Yeah.
about
Wow.
suffering. It is about, and so, and I would say that, focusing what the research shows is that genetics play the biggest part in our happiness, right? So we all have a genetic history. It's not just your parents, and it's the biggest component. Now there's epigenetics, there's things that, your environment, things you can change, absolutely. But if someone in your family is like a complete Eeyore, negative all the time, genetics, just have compassion for everyone, because some people are genetically predisposed to be unhappy or really unhappy. 8% of the population is genetically predisposed to be really happy, right? Those lucky 8%. But then there's the middle. So that's a big piece. Our environment is a big part of it, right? Like I just interviewed someone this morning and she had 3 kids during the pandemic, right? The environment, what's happening? It's all these things out of her control. But you use the word that is very important, is agency. So we have agency over 2 things, not over our genes, not over our environment in a lot of ways. But what we do have agency over is our thinking and our behavior. And that's where all the research is. And it's about, right, thinking and behavior around positivity and painful emotions, around meaning and purpose, thinking and behavior around psychological richness. And so what the research shows is that we all have a different set point, but all of us can make it better for ourselves. We all can increase our well-being by making the choice and then by being intentional about our thinking and how we behave.
I love it. I love it. Well, you're speaking my language here at Think Time. I love the emphasis on we have agency over our thoughts, our behaviors. I mean, it's huge. Those are 2 things, and you can just narrow in on that. And so often I think we do spend time that is ineffective thinking about, oh, I wish I could change X, Y, or Z. Or why am I just so whatever it is. And I love that refocus on where can I impact change? What can I do? And it's in thoughts and behaviors.
And accepting, actually, we have an autistic parenting coach, and I recently was talking about something, and she said to me, she's like, oh, you don't have control over that. It was something to do with my 2 girls. And we talked about the serenity prayer, right? Of like the wisdom to know the difference. And I was like, oh yeah, you're right. I'm worrying about something that I don't have refocus on. This is what I actually can change. And it's such a beautiful release, just like in Buddhism, like radical acceptance of what is happening and what I feel about it.
Yes. What is? Can I align myself with what is?
Yeah.
I love that. I've heard mental health is the acceptance of reality at all costs. That feels congruent with what you just said.
Yeah. And not easy.
Health.
Not easy all the time.
No, not easy at all. You said something that stood out to me. It was that there are positive aspects and negative aspects. Can you give our community maybe 2 action steps to strengthen the positives and 2 action steps to process the negatives?
When I work with people or in my talks, I don't want them to use the word negative. I actually want to use the word painful.
Painful.
Because
Okay.
negative makes people think that they're bad, like they're negative. So yes, I could give you lots of examples. So let me give you a couple. So to feel more positive emotions, I'll give a few quick things. You can meditate or pray, exercise, help other people, learn new things, practice self-compassion, invest in your relationships. Those are a few. Okay. There's hundreds. Those are a few things to feel more positive emotions. Practice gratitude, etc.
Very actionable. I love
Nature, time in nature, all the things. On the painful side, so one painful emotion that a lot of people feel is stress. Okay. So what you can do is you can understand and know that there's an upside to stress. So stress, unchecked, chronic stress is very, very, can wreak havoc on your mind, body, spirit, and relationships and your career, right? But what the research shows is that when you feel stressed, but then you recover from stress recover. Like you might have a really stressful morning, but then you go for a 10-minute walk. Really stressful night with your kids, but then you read a book and have a quick bath or whatever you like, basically, right? That stress actually improves your cognition, makes you more motivated, improves your immune system. So understanding that there actually is an upside of stress. Stress isn't all bad. Your mindset around stress is very important. And what matters is that you are recovering from this emotion. So that's one example. Let's say you are, you're feeling a lot of, sadness. Maybe you are suffering. Maybe you are grieving. Maybe you're going through a really, really hard, painful time. You're not happy because of what's happening and it's congruent. Like, yeah, no, what's going on? You shouldn't be happy. This is normal. So let's say you're really sad and you're suffering a lot. What the research shows is that when you journal about what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and what's going on in your body, that's going to help, as well as talking. So whether you hire a therapist, you said a coach, could be someone in your faith, could be a friend. What you don't want to do is sit and just ruminate on your own and catastrophize. You think of these painful emotions as water and they need to flow through writing. And then there's also a lot of research on leaning into spirituality. And again, this could be a religious faith or it doesn't have to be, right? So when my daughter, my older daughter for years had extreme panic attacks, so much that she couldn't go to school for 3 years. I can't even explain how the amount of suffering that I felt for myself and her and my other daughter and my husband. Like it was so extremely hard. And for me, leaning into spirituality, visualizing angels flying into our home to support us. That's a micro example of all these different things that I was doing, feeling supported in times of suffering, right? And so, yeah, again, there's like thousands of research. There's so many things we can do to support us and just knowing that you're not doing anything wrong. This is a part of the human experience.
I love that. I love that. Those are such beautiful, I'd say what did you say the positives were called? Are they positive?
Yeah. So
okay,
yeah,
the positives are positive.
Positive emotions. Yeah.
So the positive emotions, there are actions to create those. Yes. And the painful emotions, there are reasons behind the pain and there are ways to respond so that it becomes a positive when you move through that. And I think as you were talking, I was thinking of like the plants that put their roots down more deeply when storms come and they're moving back and forth, but the ones that never had a storm just go pshoo and knock over. And so our goal isn't to like take all the stress out of our kids' lives or the stress out of our own lives, but to become more resilient in the midst of the storms and the storms of life. And life brings storms. We went through that with the pandemic, like the whole world. We all went through a storm. We can't just pretend like everything's always happy.
No, it's not. I mean, there's so many tragic things happening in the world right now, right? And absolutely not. The world is not always happy. I love what you said about the tree analogy, because what the research shows is that when you learn about the science of happiness and you apply the science of happiness, it increases your psychological immune system. So that when the storms come, it's not that you're not going to be unhappy, right? You are, because you're in a storm, but you're going to have more resources and tools to weather the storm. You might be feeling really unhappy and maybe even depressed for what's going on, but you might not be down there as long or as deeply. So
I love it.
It's just like you go to the gym or you eat vegetables. So God forbid when the next pandemic comes around, you stay strong, right? It's a kind of the same thing with your mind and soul.
That's exactly right. It's just like your immune system for your physical health. We all learned that the viruses are going to come through, and what we have control over is strengthening our own bodies and our own cells. We learned that as a world, that's all we could do as individuals. And so I love that psychologically speaking, the trials are going to come. And so we've got to think about, how do we exercise these muscles? How do we strengthen the positivity? How do we buffer the pain and cause that resilience and that strength over time? I love it.
Yeah. Let me say one thing that I think is really important. So our brains are not built to make us happy. Our brains do a lot of things that make us unhappy. And one of those things, and in Buddhism, they call it double suffering. And so this is something to be intentional about. What we do is when we feel a painful emotion, like let's say we feel anger or we feel stress or fear or anxiety or all of them, we then feel bad for feeling the painful emotion. We are hard on ourselves. We're critical of ourselves. We think, I must be doing something wrong because I'm not happy. I'm not feeling we don't have the language. I don't feel the positive emotion, so I must be doing something wrong. I must not be good enough, etc. And so realizing we have agency to close that double suffering. The one part of the suffering, that's true. That's authentic. And but don't beat yourself up for having the painful emotion.
And that's where the radical acceptance comes in then, is where you accept, like, this is what it is. I have the anger, but I'm not shoving it away as if it's something to harm me. I'm embracing that anger, processing it to grow. I love that. Okay, so you have spoken candidly about the emotional pull that many high achieving moms feel. And so from what I've observed, and this is my anecdotal observations of all the moms throughout time that I've seen, all of us want more and better time with our kids. And I've seen that from the C-suite mom to the homeschooling mom. We always feel pulled away at some level, and we're trying to get to our kids and trying to get that connection as strong as possible. So in general, as a mom, you're a high achieving mom, you're wanting to make that connection with your kids. What made the biggest difference for you and your family? Was it more quality time, more quantity time, or do you think it was just your own internal happiness that made the biggest difference?
So it's hard for me to say like a one thing. So I've been a working mom for 11 and a half years, and I feel like there has been phases and seasons of what I needed to do then. So, and this is how I came to create the 7 pillars for my feel good framework, because looking back, so I'm now in a place, even with really, really challenging parenting journey, where I feel on most days, right, happy. I feel meaning and purpose. I have psychological richness. I have connection. I have a career that I love. And in addition to that, close relationships, calm and regulated, and this sense of inner peace, which I didn't always have. And so the first thing I needed to do, and I'll tell you the 7, the first thing I needed to do was to feel empowered, which goes with your goals and dreams of creating a vision and acting aligned with values, right?
Yeah.
For me, that's pillar 1. Then it was the science of happiness, which we've been talking a lot about, well-being, learning and applying the science of happiness. And for me, and also the research shows, when you are making other people happier, in my case, through my work as well as with my family, you make other people happier. So it's you're doing it for yourself and then out and self and out. And it's this continuum, right? And maybe I'll tell you the 7, and I'll say if I had to choose one, this would be the strongest. The third is compassion. So I was very, very self-critical, very hard on myself. First daughter, perfectionist, high achievers, straight A's, like climbing the corporate ladder, getting bigger jobs, more money, bigger title, entrepreneur, keynotes, TED Talk, book, like, and was very hard on myself as a mom.
Yes.
Very hard on myself.
And
And
you
I
couldn't
didn't know.
guarantee results. Like the inputs that you were putting in weren't giving the results that you're supposed to be getting for those inputs,
Right.
right?
And I
Like
was
that
getting the
didn't happen.
opposite. I was getting the opposite results at home because I had a
Ugh.
very, very challenging daughter. We didn't
Mhm.
know she was disabled until she was 7.5. I just thought we were doing something wrong. Even though I was bringing her to
Right.
doctors and everything, they were like, yeah, it's got to be you. Like, anyway. So
Sure.
compassion,
Yeah.
compassion, self-compassion, compassion for others, grace, kindness, mindfulness. Pillar 4 was the healing journey. My daughter was triggering everything in me that was unhealed from my childhood.
Mm.
Every single thing. And I was reactive. My nervous system was on fire. I was anxious. And I definitely didn't have inner peace. And so I went on, and I'm still on, a very intense transformational healing journey after reading The Body Keeps the Score. And I basically was like,
Yeah.
I'm doing an experiment on myself and focused so much on
Good.
healing. Why I was healing my daughter at the same time. 5 is spirituality. Harmony is what I call it. Opening yourself to faith, trust, and guidance from the universe. Pillar 6 is collaboration. So I learned about collaborative problem solving from a few different people, and I went on to take different courses in it, which has transformed our family.
Mm.
My husband and I, our marriage and the way we parent is with so much empathy, with communicating our concerns, and then we collaborate whenever there's a problem, whenever there's a challenge. We don't do punishments. We don't do rewards. We don't do sticker charts. We don't do anything like that. There's no
Yeah.
consequences. All we do is collaborative problem solving, again,
Mm.
in our marriage and it has been life changing. And it's based on neuroscience, 2 Harvard doctors. Anyone that has it is having lots of problems in the home, definitely check out collaborative problem solving. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
pillar 7 is worthiness, right? This was my last, I will say, and of course, I'm going to keep growing. We all will. But for me, the last piece was truly believing
Mm.
that I'm enough every single day, no matter what I do
Mm.
in all areas, right? And, it could be turning down. Just the inner critic is not like, yeah, okay, I understand what you're trying to tell me, but I'm going to talk to myself like my best, best, best friend every flippin' day.
I love that. I love that. Oh my goodness. These pillars are deep and rich. And I know from my dipping of toes into the neuroscience, they're sound. They're so sound. And so I'm excited for any woman who's journeying with you in the Feel Good Club and that it's informed by a depth of understanding. I know a lot of people in our community, we're not just living life that is uninformed and unaware that
Be inauthentic.
inauthentic. I mean, there are probably a lot of great words for this,
Yeah.
but in our community of adults with ADHD, many of us have kids with autism, ADHD. We feel that pain. We have been stripped to our core and had our insides turned outside, knowing that you've been there too.
Mm-hmm.
And that you're like, this is a community of real people coming together and real mothers coming together specifically who want to become people who feel good so that our kids will feel good. It's almost counterintuitive. And I think there's some research that talks about parents are, they're 2 to 3 times more likely, I believe, to spend money on their kids' therapies. And what I'd love to do is just to say, actually, the most important thing you can do, hearkening back to the original statements that we said, is that this investment that a mom could make in herself by doing something like joining the Feel Good Club or following you on your podcast, that type of investment is going to multiply. Number one, it's one session and it multiplies by however many kids you have. That's an automatic multiply, but it is going to duplicate, multiply, and absolutely exponentially grow. And they will become more like you and they can have the training. I've watched people have amazing training, but because the parents weren't modeling that type of life, they didn't do it. And they had like the best training in the world. But because the parents weren't doing that, they just said, no, I'll do what my parents do. And so I just want to say yes, yes, yes to your framework. I love it. To what you're doing and creating more happiness in the world.
And Christine, I have to say, I agree with you 1000%. The parents are the number one therapist.
Yes.
Like we are. And I don't know if I shared, my daughters and I all have ADHD.
And so there's a different way to parent when you have ADHD, when your kids have ADHD or autism. There are just different rules. I was just talking with someone in my last meeting about that. Like there are surviving techniques that you use, and then there are thriving techniques. So we're aiming for the thriving, but sometimes
you're in survival.
we're
Yes.
implementing the surviving. And there are just different tools you need to have in your tool belt and have them already. I just am so glad that you have joined us. Where can they follow you, find out more about what you do? How do we find you on the internet?
Yes. So my website is just my name, tiagraham.com. And I have several free resources for working moms on my blog there. Podcast is called The Feel Good Club with Tia Graham. I'm very active on Instagram, Tia E. Graham there for Elizabeth in the middle. And I also am active on YouTube and LinkedIn, just my name, Tia Graham. So yeah, but it's all, if you just go to tiagraham.com, it's all there.
That's great. Can you tease me with one free resource that you think, if you had to pick one, which one should we direct the people to go grab?
Yes. So one is my toolkit for overcoming mom guilt.
Ooh, that's it. That's the tease I wanted. So look in the link in the show description to get the toolkit for overcoming mom guilt, and follow Tia Graham at tiagraham.com and the Feel Good Club podcast with Tia Graham, wherever you get your podcasts. So Tia, thank you so much for joining me today on the Think Time podcast. What a treasure this has been. And I have at least 2 topics I would like to go deeper on in the future with you. So hopefully you'll be back.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only and isn't a substitute for individualized medical, mental health, or professional care. Every brain is different. Results will vary. Thank you for listening to Hyperfocus and High Performance. If today's conversation helped you think differently about how your mind works, I invite you to take the next step. Visit think-time.com/podcast and grab my free training. Why can't I find a planner that works for me? If you've ever felt frustrated, judged, even by yourself, overwhelmed, or simply wondered why everyone seems to be able to follow a system that simply doesn't work for you, you're not alone. In this free training, you'll discover how your brain naturally approaches focus, planning, and productivity, and why many traditional systems were never designed for minds like yours, and whether neuroplanning could help you increase your opportunity to experience more clarity, calm, confidence, creativity, and meaningful progress with peace, not pressure. And if this episode encouraged you, please subscribe, share it with a friend, and leave a review so more brilliant, creative ADHD visionaries can discover what's possible. Remember, you don't have to become someone else to do what only you can do, because only you can be who only you can be, and otherwise there will be a hole in history. The path forward is clear. Love your design, then dream, decide, do, review. I'll see you next time.